The Laughing Council. The Galactic Engineering Council was the most respected organization in the universe when it came to spaceship design. It was an exclusive group consisting of the finest minds from advanced alien civilizations. Every year, they held a grand meeting where engineers presented their latest ship designs, hoping to impress the council. This year, something unusual had happened. A human engineer, Alex Carter, had been invited to present. It was the first time a human had ever been allowed in the council's chambers, and the aliens did not take him seriously. The room was massive, with floating platforms where different alien species sat. The air buzzed with quiet conversations, most of them focused on the human. Tall, insect-like Varrock engineers clicked their mandibles in amusement. The reptilian Solarians flicked their tails in mocking curiosity. Even the robotic Vithari hummed in a way that signaled amusement. Humans were new to the galactic scene, and while they had survived against stronger enemies, their technology was considered primitive. Compared to the sleek, energy-efficient ships of the galaxy, human vessels were bulky, outdated, and inefficient. Alex Carter, a tall man with sharp blue eyes, stood at the center of the chamber. A holographic projection of his spaceship floated beside him. It was not large. It was not covered in powerful weapons. And worst of all, it looked simple. A deep, rumbling voice echoed through the chamber. It belonged to High Engineer Vokhtar, a massive, armored being from the Krenak species. He was one of the most respected engineers in the galaxy, and he was not impressed. "Human," Vokhtar growled, his voice dripping with amusement. "Is this thing your best work?" The room erupted in laughter. Some aliens clicked their tongues. Others let out deep, rumbling chuckles. Even the Vithari, who rarely showed emotion, flickered their lights in a pattern that translated to pathetic. Alex didn't react. He simply stood there, arms crossed, waiting for them to finish. Another alien, a Xilarian named Rezik, leaned forward with a toothy grin. "Tell us, human," he hissed, "does it at least fly? Or did you build it out of, what do you humans call it? Scrap metal." More laughter. Alex finally spoke. His voice was calm, steady. "It flies," he said simply, "and much more." The confidence in his voice made some of the laughter die down. Vokhtar leaned forward. "Oh, and what, human, makes your ship so special? Look around you. We have ships that can travel faster than light with no delay. Ships that can bend gravity to their will. Ships that can fire weapons powerful enough to destroy moons. What does your little machine do?" Alex looked at them, his blue eyes sharp. "Let the ship speak for itself," he said. A hush fell over the chamber. Some of the engineers exchanged confused glances. Vokhtar narrowed his glowing eyes. "Very well," the Krenok's leader rumbled. "We shall put it to the test. A real challenge. If it fails, you will leave this place in shame, and humanity will never be allowed to present here again." Alex only nodded. Agreed. The aliens smirked. They were sure this human ship would fail. They would get to watch it struggle, watch it break apart under real testing. What they didn't know was that the real test was for them, because what they were about to witness would change everything. The Galactic Engineering Council did not waste time. If a ship was to be tested, it had to be done in the most extreme conditions possible. They had humiliated many engineers before. Watching their creations fail in real time was a form of entertainment for them. High Engineer Vokhtar stood tall in the grand chamber, his glowing eyes focused on Alex Carter. "Your ship will be tested in the trial of Titans," he declared, his deep voice filled with amusement. A murmur spread through the crowd. The trial of Titans was the most brutal engineering challenge in the galaxy. It was designed to break even the most advanced ships. A massive simulation chamber, the size of a small moon, was prepared. Inside, powerful energy storms raged, asteroid fields moved unpredictably, and gravity wells shifted randomly. Even elite warships struggled to survive in such conditions. "This is foolish," hissed Rezik, the Xilarian engineer. His scaly lips curled into a sneer. A primitive human ship cannot last 5 minutes in the trial. The audience laughed. They were eager to watch the human's failure. But Alex remained calm. He stepped onto a floating platform that took him toward the observation deck. His ship, the Orion, was already being transported into the trial chamber. It was a sleek, gray vessel, compact, simple, and unimpressive compared to the elegant alien designs. The moment the trial began, the simulation chamber came to life. Massive energy storms erupted across the battlefield, throwing out electromagnetic pulses strong enough to fry circuits. Asteroids spun wildly, moving faster than any ship could dodge. Gravity wells pulled in all directions, threatening to rip apart anything that entered. And then, the countdown began. 5 minutes to survive. The aliens smirked. No ship had lasted beyond 3 minutes without critical damage. The Orion launched forward, and instantly, the aliens saw something they did not expect. It was fast. Faster than any human ship they had ever seen. It weaved through the chaos like a predator hunting its prey. An asteroid the size of a skyscraper came flying toward it. Any normal ship would struggle to react in time. But Orion tilted at an impossible angle and narrowly slipped through a gap that should not have been possible. The aliens stopped laughing. Then came the energy storm. Blinding lightning struck from all directions, seeking to fry the ship's systems. The Varrock engineers clicked their mandibles in satisfaction. No shielding system could withstand such power. But Orion didn't even try to block the attack. Instead, it redirected the energy through its hull, absorbing it and using it to boost its own speed. Now, the audience was completely silent. 2 minutes had passed. No damage. Rezik's yellow eyes narrowed. Impossible. Then came the final challenge. A gravity well opened directly in front of Orion, a trap that had crushed countless ships before. The force would tear apart even the strongest hulls. The aliens leaned forward, eager to see the human ship finally break. But instead of resisting, Orion accelerated straight into the well. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Had the human lost control? But then, the ship emerged on the other side, completely intact. A stunned silence fell over the room. Vokhtar, who had watched countless ships fail this test, slowly stood from his seat. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, then the final countdown. 5 minutes. The test ended. Orion had survived. The human ship had done what no other vessel had ever done before. The aliens were speechless. And Alex Carter, he simply smirked. Still think it's just scrap metal. The chamber remained silent. No one had expected this outcome. The Orion, a ship designed by a mere human, had passed the trial of Titans without a single scratch. High Engineer Vokhtar's glowing eyes flickered with something unfamiliar. Doubt. This must be a trick, Rezik hissed, his claws tightening against the railing. Run the diagnostics again. No ship should survive that trial. The technicians scrambled, reviewing the data. Every sensor confirmed the same result. The Orion had not only survived but performed beyond any known design limits. Alex Carter stood with his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. He could feel the weight of every alien's gaze on him, but he remained calm. "You think this is a trick?" he asked, his voice cutting through the tension. "Then let's make it interesting. Give me a real challenge." The council members exchanged glances. The human was arrogant, but after what they had just witnessed, could they truly dismiss him? Vokhtar's expression darkened. "Very well. If you are so confident, we shall test your ship in live combat." A murmur spread through the audience. A combat trial. That was not standard procedure. Alex simply nodded. "Fine. Just don't blame me when your ships get embarrassed." The alien sneered. The very idea that a single human ship could stand against the best vessels of the Galactic Council was laughable. But the test had to continue. Within minutes, the combat simulation was prepared. The Orion was placed in the battle arena. a massive space battlefield designed to test military vessels. 3 enemy ships were chosen, each from a different species. First, the Solarian Striker, a sleek, high-speed attack craft, famous for overwhelming its opponents with speed and maneuverability. Second, the Varrock Dreadnought, a massive warship with near-impenetrable shields and devastating firepower. And finally, the Korathi Phantom, a stealth vessel that could vanish at will, striking from the shadows. It was a death sentence. Even the best military ships struggled against just one of these opponents. No lone ship had ever survived against all 3. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. Battle start. The moment the battle began, the Solarian Striker launched forward at blinding speed, moving in for a quick kill. Orion didn't move. The audience watched, confused. Was the human frozen in fear? Then, in an instant, Orion vanished. Not into hyperspace, not using cloaking technology. It simply disappeared from the enemy ship's targeting system. Gasps filled the chamber. The Solarian pilot panicked, spinning his ship in all directions, trying to find the target. Then, from above, a single plasma shot. Direct hit. The Striker's engine shut down instantly. The first enemy was disabled in seconds. The chamber erupted in chaos. The aliens couldn't believe what they were seeing. But the battle wasn't over. The Varrock Dreadnought, now aware of the threat, charged its massive cannons. A single blast from its main gun could vaporize a city. It fired. The energy beam surged forward, unstoppable. But before it could land, Orion did the impossible again. It turned at an angle no ship should be able to achieve and dodged the blast by mere meters. Then, without hesitation, it returned fire. One precise shot, right at the Dreadnought's power core. The Varrock ship's shields should have stopped it. They were the strongest in the galaxy. But the Orion's weapons weren't normal. The energy bolt pierced through the shields like they were nothing. The Dreadnought shut down instantly. Silence. In the observation room, Rezik's claws dug into his seat. "What kind of technology is this?" he whispered. Now, only one ship remained. The Korathi Phantom activated its stealth mode, disappearing from sight. A smug murmur ran through the alien crowd. The Phantom was undetectable. There was no way the human could win now. Alex smirked. "Nice trick," he muttered. Then he pressed a single button. Orion fired one shot into the darkness. There was a brief silence. Then, an explosion. The Korathi Phantom reappeared, in pieces. The chamber erupted in chaos. The Orion had defeated 3 elite warships in less than a minute. Vokhtar, who had been standing confidently before, now sat completely still. His glowing eyes were locked onto the human ship, his mind racing to understand what had just happened. Alex leaned forward, his voice calm but powerful. "Still think we're just primitive engineers?" The council had no answer. Because in that moment, they realized the truth. Human engineering wasn't just advanced. It was unstoppable. The silence in the Galactic Council chamber was unlike anything before. The Orion had not just won. It had done so in a way that defied everything the galaxy thought it knew about space warfare. High Engineer Vokhtar had spent his life studying the most advanced ships in existence. He had seen dreadnoughts that could shatter moons, stealth ships that could vanish into nothing, and warships that turned entire fleets to dust. But he had never seen a ship move like this. The way Orion dodged, the way it fired, the instant, precise kills. This wasn't just superior engineering. It was something else. And that terrified him. He turned to his advisors, his voice low but urgent. "Find out how that ship works. I want every detail, every system, everything." Rezik, still gripping his seat, shook his head. "That will be difficult." Vokhtar's glowing eyes narrowed. "Why?" Rezik swallowed. "Because we don't understand any of it." That was when the realization hit them all. It wasn't just that the Orion was better. It was that no one in the entire galaxy even understood how it worked. The simulation data was running on the screens. The Orion's movements were being analyzed, broken down piece by piece. Every expert in the room was scrambling to explain what had just happened. They couldn't. One of the analysts, a Solarian with years of experience, finally spoke. "This ship violates every known law of physics." The aliens in the chamber exchanged worried glances. Vokhtar turned back to the screen, watching a slow-motion replay of the battle. The Orion didn't move like any normal ship. Its turning angles were too sharp. Its acceleration was impossible. Its shots bypassed shields like they didn't even exist. "This," Vokhtar muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. "This isn't just technology. It's something else." Meanwhile, Alex Carter stood near the edge of the council chamber, watching the chaos unfold. He could feel their fear. He could see the way their confidence was crumbling. They had mocked him. They had laughed at human engineering. And now they were terrified. A small smirk crossed Alex's face. He turned to one of the council officials, a trembling Vrothian who had spent the past hour sneering at him. "You still think humans don't belong in your so-called advanced civilizations?" Alex asked casually. The Vrothian gulped, unable to meet his gaze. Alex chuckled. "Yeah, that's what I thought. But this was far from over. Because what the council didn't know, what no one in this chamber knew, was that the Orion's true power had yet to be revealed. And when it was, the galaxy would never be the same again." The Galactic Council chamber was no longer filled with laughter. The arrogance, the mockery, all of it was gone. Now, only fear remained. The Orion sat in the docking bay outside the council hall, a silent reminder of what had just happened. A ship that should not exist. A ship that should not be possible. High Engineer Vokhtar stood at the center of the room, his mind racing. The entire fleet had been unable to land a single hit on the human ship. The finest warships in the galaxy had been reduced to target practice. "This is impossible," one of the council members whispered. "It defies everything we know," another added. But Alex Carter, he looked bored. He leaned against a pillar, arms crossed, watching as the most powerful beings in the galaxy struggled to comprehend reality. Vokhtar turned to his team. "We need to know how that ship moves like that." A Solarian scientist shook his head. "The propulsion system makes no sense. It moves like it's bending space around it." Vokhtar froze. "That's not possible." The scientist pulled up the data. And yet, here it is. Their weapons, phase-disrupting energy rounds. They pass through shields like they aren't even there. Another alien engineer added, "And their reactor, it's something we've never seen before. No heat signature, no radiation spikes. It produces more power than anything in our fleet." Vokhtar clenched his fists. It means, Alex interrupted, finally stepping forward, "You're outdated." The council members turned toward him, their expressions dark. "This is unacceptable." One of them roared, "We are the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy." "We." Alex raised a hand, cutting him off. "Oh, really? Because from where I'm standing, you're centuries behind." The room fell into silence. The truth was out. Humanity had surpassed them. By how much? They had no idea. Vokhtar exhaled slowly, staring at the human engineer. "How long?" Alex smirked. "How long what? How long has humanity had this kind of technology?" Alex tilted his head, pretending to think. Then, with a casual shrug, he said, "Oh, about a decade." The room erupted into chaos. A decade. In just 10 years, humans had gone from inferior to unstoppable. Vokhtar felt a cold sweat run down his back. If humans had this level of technology after only 10 years, then what would they have in 50? What would they have in 100? And more importantly, could anyone stop them? The council chamber was in complete disarray. Panic, disbelief, and rage filled the air as the most powerful leaders in the galaxy struggled to process what they had just learned. A human engineer, mocked and dismissed as inferior, had just shattered their entire understanding of technology. Vokhtar sat silently, staring at the data in front of him. It was undeniable. The Orion was not an illusion. It was not a trick. It was real. And it was unstoppable. One of the council members, a towering reptilian warlord named Gorkal, slammed his fist on the table. "We cannot allow this," he roared. "If humanity has this level of power, then they will rule over us all." A Xilarian diplomat hissed, "They will wipe us out. They will crush us just as we have crushed countless others." Alex Carter chuckled. Everyone turned toward him. He leaned against the polished stone wall, arms crossed, completely unfazed by their outbursts. "Wipe you out," he repeated. "Crush you." He raised an eyebrow. "I don't remember humanity ever saying that." Silence. For the first time in galactic history, the mighty council had no words. Alex sighed and stepped forward. "You think because we built a better ship, we want war." He shook his head. "You really don't understand humans, do you?" Vokhtar narrowed his eyes. "Then what is it you want?" Alex shrugged. "We want to explore. We want to build. We want to push the limits of what's possible." His expression darkened. "But we also want to be left alone." Gorkal sneered. "You expect us to believe that?" Alex tilted his head. "Tell me, warlord, if we wanted to destroy you, what would stop us?" Gorkal's mouth opened, but no words came out. Nothing would stop them. Nothing could. Vokhtar clenched his fists. It was terrifying how calm the human was. He wasn't bragging. He wasn't threatening. He was simply stating a fact. The Orion wasn't just a warship. It was a statement, a warning. A frail-looking species from a backwater planet had outpaced the entire galaxy. In just a decade. What would they accomplish in a century? A Xilarian scientist spoke up, his voice trembling. "If you truly wish for peace, why build such a weapon?" Alex turned to him. "Because of you." The room went deathly silent. Alex's voice remained calm, but his words cut like a blade. "Because for centuries, this council has ruled with force. The strong dominate the weak. You called it balance. You called it stability. But the truth." He leaned forward. "It was always just fear." No one argued. Because he was right. Every species in the room had, at some point, used their power to crush another. Conquer. Enslave. Eradicate. They had all done it. And now, they were terrified that it was their turn. Vokhtar exhaled. "So what happens now?" Alex studied the gathered leaders. "That depends on you." "What do you mean?" a small avian diplomat asked. Alex gave a small, knowing smile. "For the first time in history, you don't get to decide." The weight of those words crushed the room. The council had always dictated the fate of lesser species. Always. But now, they were at the mercy of humanity. Vokhtar's hands shook slightly. The galaxy had changed. Forever. The council chamber was eerily silent. For the first time in its long history, no one dared to speak. Every leader, every warlord, every diplomat present understood the truth. The balance of power had shifted, and there was nothing they could do about it. Vokhtar, the usually calm and composed High Chancellor, felt his throat go dry. You are saying that humanity will not attack." Alex Carter, the human engineer who had just humiliated the entire Galactic Council, chuckled softly. "Attack." He shook his head. "We didn't build the Orion to attack. We built it because we knew this day would come." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. Alex sighed and placed his hands on the sleek metallic table. "For centuries, you looked at humanity and saw a joke. A weak, insignificant species from a primitive world. You laughed at us, dismissed us, even tried to control us." His eyes darkened. You thought we wouldn't catch up. You thought we wouldn't fight back. Silence. The truth was bitter, too bitter. Gorkal, the reptilian warlord, gritted his teeth. And now? What happens now, human? Alex leaned forward. Now. His voice was calm, but carried the weight of inevitability. Now, you have a choice. Vokhtar's fingers twitched. A choice. Alex nodded. You can either accept the new reality, or you can try to fight it. He smiled faintly. But if you choose the second option, well, he gestured to the massive holographic display in the center of the room. The Orion, still hovering in deep space, still untouched, a ship that should not exist, a ship that had made a mockery of the Council's greatest fleets, a ship that proved humanity was beyond their control. Alex leaned back, folding his arms. We don't want war, but we also don't need permission to exist. We're done being underestimated. The meaning was clear. Humanity was no longer beneath them. They were beyond them. Gorkal's claws dug into the table. And if we refuse to accept this new reality, Alex tilted his head, amused. Then that's up to you. The warlord bared his fangs. Are you threatening us? Alex smirked. No. His voice was light, almost casual. I'm just saying, if you push us, you won't be laughing next time. A cold chill ran through the room. The message was received, loud and clear. Vokhtar inhaled deeply, forcing himself to regain his composure. Then I suggest. He chose his next words carefully. We adjust our understanding of humanity. Alex gave a small nod. That would be wise. The Chancellor turned to the rest of the Council. Let it be recorded that from this moment forward, humanity is recognized as a sovereign power beyond any galactic authority. There was no debate, no protests, only reluctant acceptance, because they all knew humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again.